right. I actually don't need that. Or if I do, I'll just leave it there. Yeah, thanks. All right, we're going to cover three things very quickly. I've got 30 minutes. That's me. We're going to cover finding out where you are. I'm then going to talk to you about the tools that you need. And then the last thing, I'm going to overcome your objections. Because I hear them all the time. I know what they are. So we're going to talk about that. So first off, if we could go to the next one. Stuff is being handed out to you guys right here. They're little itty bitty cards, but I'd love for you to scan this QR code. Now, it's entirely safe. My son, who's in cybersecurity, checked it for me. This is an assessment. So the biggest issue that we have found is very few of you know where you are when it comes to influence. Influence is marketing, by the way. I'm going to be using those words interchangeably. So what this is, it takes 5 minutes. You can just do it while I'm talking, okay? What this is going to do is going to ask you about 20 questions to see if you're doing the right behaviors to be more influential in your marketing. This is a shortened version of a long-form assessment that we're going to be rolling out at the end of this year. And then you're going to get an email from me with a video explaining your score. It might go to spam. I'm just going to warn you guys, we have some high tower issues with our emails. So please check that. And then if you want to find me today and say, hey, Matt, I scored a 17 out of 100. What does that mean? I'm going to politely tell you you suck. And then, no, I'm really not. But I know exactly what that means because we've done hundreds of these already, and I'm really excited. So there's number one. You have to know where you are. Number two, my favorite thing, and I'm in the elevator today, and somebody said to me, what in God's name am I going to talk about on a podcast? Huh, there he is right there. Yeah, right. I mean, I think I was paraphrasing there, but how long? So here's the kicker. Number one, the ideal podcast length is 27 minutes. So you know, all research points to that. There's a 75% drop-off in listens at 27 minutes, okay? It also shouldn't be you talking for 27 minutes. I love all of you dearly. Nobody wants to listen to you for 27 minutes. We actually provide a co-hosting platform. We have professional voice talents who actually will interview you as advisors to help you come up with stuff. But I'm going to make it even easier for you. Hightower was really nice, or this hotel, gave you these little pads of paper. So you're going to do an exercise with me right now. You're going to list 1 through 12 on a piece of paper. 1 through 12. I'll give you a second. I know I'm telling you to take an assessment and write pieces on a piece of paper. 1 through 12. All right. So these are going to be your first 12 episodes. Because there's something called pod fade that is real. During the pandemic, there were 2 million podcasts started. 200,000 exist today. Because the rest of those, 1.8 million, couldn't get past the 6th episode. And the reason why is they didn't know how to plan. These are going to be your first 12. So your first 3 are this. I'm going to tell you what they are. Who are you? Because everybody wants to know the origin story of you as an advisor. Okay? So who are you? What's your story? And this isn't like, well, I went to Cornell. I mean, that's great. But like, why are you an advisor? And you have to tell stories. There's something called the perfect podcast formula. Storytelling, education, entertainment, call to action. I'm going to say that like 15 times. So you don't have to write that down. So who are you? Okay? Second one is, what do you do? Right? And I want you to focus on what you can control. Which, by the way, isn't the markets. For some reason, you have all leaned on client communication pieces that are market-driven. I understand. Compliance. Totally get it. But then you get grumpy when your clients come in and they're like, the S&P's down 4.3%, what's going on? And you're like, I'm a financial planner, what the hell's going on? That's because all of your communication is market-focused, instead of planning focus. So what do you do? The third one is who do you do it for? Now, I get a lot of pushback on this puppy because people will say, well, Matt, my niche is retirees. That's not a niche. That is 10,000 freaking people a day. My second favorite one is women. 51% of the population is your niche. Okay, it's not a niche. So how do you take retirees or women and really, really focus? Okay, I'll give you a couple of quick hints. Number one, who are the favorite people you have to work with? Like, who do you love? When they show up, you're like, yeah, I love those people. Let's replicate them. Let's find out their psychographics and demographics, and you can focus on that with your marketing material. By the way, the Hightower team is crazy good at the whole niche stuff, guys. Please lean on them. They will help you discover the niche. They'll help you create content surrounding the niche, collateral, branding, all of that stuff. They are absolutely phenomenal. So that is what you do. And then the last is who you do it for. So there's your first three. Now, your next three are going to be, what are the things that you say in every freaking meeting every time you meet with a client? What is it? Is it about your IPS, your investment policy statement? Is it about financial planning? Is it about the markets? Is it about life insurance? Is it about service? Is it about what else? What do you hear all the time, every meeting? Guaranteed returns. Yeah. Boy, you just made like 90 people in here just, yeah. This isn't being recorded, I don't think. What else? What else do you guys hear in your meetings all the time? Am I going to run out of money? Is this tax favored? Right? I mean, you guys hear that stuff, right? Okay. My kid's an idiot. What do I do when he's going to or she's going to inherit money? Right? I know you guys deal with that stuff. My parents are getting really old. How do we deal with long-term care issues? All right? So how many are we at right now? Who's keeping count? So there's 4, 5, you're supposed to be at 6, right? Okay. Your next three are going to be, who are your strategic partners? Okay? Do you have friends with accountants, CPAs, real estate attorneys, divorce attorneys? Write their names down. Jane Johnson, divorce attorney. Okay? Now, your last few that are left, I got you covered. Because we have over 150 podcast topic outlines available to everybody who uses part 2 here, which is going to be more of the tools, because it's actually in our academy. When you scan this code and take the assessment, you get access to our free academy. And I highly recommend you look at a course called Podcasting 101, where we literally teach you everything you need to know to launch your own podcast. Everything. I talk about the 3 different levels of equipment, right? Do you need this, which is a Shure SM58 microphone? Do you need a Rodecaster Pro with 6 different microphones, boom arms, and soundproofing? You don't need that, by the way. So I don't think it was Private Vista, but it was another company recently. They're like, oh, yeah, we already bought a recording studio. Really? It wasn't you guys? No, good, thank God. Okay. It probably wasn't a Hightower client, but yeah, they spent $15,000 on a recording studio. Okay? I do this for a living. I'm under $1,000. Overbuy, and then you don't know how to use the equipment, or it's overkill, or you make it really complex. We try to make it as simple as possible. So Podcasting 101. But the 150 podcast topics, we have a run rate right now of 175 episodes per month for financial services professionals. 100% compliant. Okay? We've done over 5,000 episodes for people like you since our inception in 2016. Actually, we didn't have a viable product in 2016, so 2017. All right? You are who we work for. You are our entire focus. My favorite thing is this last part. I'm actually going to spend a little bit more time on this so that you guys can work on the assessment, maybe write some more stuff down on your piece of paper, which is objections. Because for some strange reason, you're all still generally pretty skeptical about podcasting. My favorite objection is there are too many podcasts, okay? Less than 10% of financial services professionals are podcasting right now. But do you know how many have websites? What do you think? Yeah, all of them. That's a 90% spread there. Nobody says there's too many websites out there. Nobody says there's too many TikToks. Nobody says there's too many YouTube videos, but for some reason people are really hung up on podcasts. So you got to get over that. Just get over it, okay? There are 5 aspects of return on your investment with podcasting. Some of it was already discussed, which, by the way, you set me up great, Hightower. I really appreciate that. So the first one is the content has value itself, okay? How many of you have local art in your office? Please raise your hand, okay? Do you expect that art to pay you back with new clients? Probably not. Because by the look on her face, she's like, hey, this is freaking ridiculous, right? A great podcast is art. It is spoken word art. It is storytelling art. One of my favorite clients who doesn't work with us, he's just a friend of mine, his name is Jimmy Williams. Please look him up, Jimmy Williams. He's an advisor. He's done 178 episodes. He started before we even started. He brings in $1 million a month that he tracks from his podcast and new assets every month. Every month. So you might say, well, gee, Matt, how do you track that? I was talking to one of our clients, David, about that yesterday. Well, you have to ask. Because you can't run it through a system like was shown with what Hightower's got with Clout or Tiffin, right? You have to actually ask in your intake forms, which for some reason you all don't do as frequently as you should. How did you hear about us? That's the question. A lot of times they say, I don't know. So you have to ask a second level question, which is, do you follow us on social media? Did you listen to our podcast? Oh, it was the podcast, right? The content has value in itself. You don't expect your art. You don't expect your furniture. You don't expect your clothing, maybe. I don't know, all the things that you all invest in to actually have a return on investment, but you do for podcasts. Number 2, so the content itself has value, right? The second thing is, it is the best client communication tool we have ever found because it's opt-in communication, right? Your clients want to hear your voice. They do. Surprisingly enough, they don't want to see your face. And the reason why is because most advisors who shoot video do a terrible, terrible job. And actually it can be damaging to your brand. Whereas audio-only podcasts, they're very portable, but it's opt-in marketing, all right? So when you're sitting down with a client, and that client says, I need to set up a 529 plan for my grandkids. I'm more than happy to talk to you about that today, but we did a 3-part mini-series on 529s, and I'd love for you to listen to that and share that with anybody that you know who's in the same situation you are. That is a simple ask. Okay, does anybody know who Bill Cates is? Anybody? He's the referral coach. He's written 7 books on referrals and financial services. You might want to look him up. He's like 482 years old. And when I brought this idea to him, what Kirk and I were doing here at Proudmouth, he said, man, that's a lot easier to refer somebody to a podcast than call my lady. Because I don't know about you guys, but I ain't calling nobody. If you call me and your number isn't registered, I don't pick up. Who calls anybody anyway anymore? Okay. Greatest client communication tool ever. It is fiercely intimate. When is the last time you were invited into your clients' or prospects' private time without being creepy? Okay? 27 minutes, I get asked, Matt, why is it 27 minutes? 27 minutes is the average commute for people in the United States. Okay? It's the average amount of time it takes to cook dinner. It's the average amount of time it takes people to get ready in the morning. And last, it's the average amount of time people exercise before they have a heart attack. So 27 minutes. Okay? Number 3, I'm going to talk a little bit about referrals, just a little bit more deeply. You have to talk about your content. Whatever the marketing team at Hightower is creating for you, it should be part of your client meetings. Absolutely. All the time. Because they're going to say stuff during that meeting that Hightower has created assets for you. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you know this, but we've got this great white paper on how to prepare for a divorce. Or what's going to happen when your aging parents are having memory issues. Right? How great does that look for you? Listen, and then you even do the humble approach. I'm not an expert in this. But we have a team of people who can help you understand this better. Okay? All of your referral conversation should be surrounding marketing material, not you. Does that make sense? You love me. I know you do. Yeah. God, we've had a great relationship for 30 years. Who do you know? No. People get creeped out by that now. That old school referral asking, it just doesn't work anymore. Sales has fundamentally changed. People don't want to be sold to, they want to buy from you. Okay? Great content is how people buy from you. I have never sold any of our 120 clients who are in Proudmouth. They listen to our podcast. They're referred to us from Hightower, other relationships that we have. People come in. We make an assessment. Is this right for you? If it is, I offer it. And if they want it, they want it. Right? That's how you can build a great relationship with a prospect before they ever become a client. Instead of this, what's your name? Mark? What can I do to get you in this car today, Mark? Why aren't you saying yes today? Ugh. Some of you remember that. I remember that sales training. Anybody remember that? Never ask a question you don't know the answer to. First off, that's not fun. Secondly, you. Right? All right. So there's number 3. So the content itself has value. Best client communication tool. Makes it easy for referrals. Now the last 2 are where it is literally printing money for you. We grew our whole business on the 400 podcasts that we've done, my partner and I. But my partner and I haven't done 400 podcasts. We've done 287 with guests. So we have brought thought leaders onto our show. And the neat thing about the thought leaders coming on the show is it's like a 27-minute commercial about how awesome they are. So guess what they do with that podcast? Anybody? What? With everybody. Especially if you're good at it, they share it and share it and share it and share it. You need to do the same thing. So Hightower's compliance is okay because of disclosures and disclaimers that we actually professionally record for you, that you can interview estate planning attorneys and CPAs and divorce attorneys. That, you have a question?
Still audio.
Still audio. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. Okay. And then you get your favorite estate planning attorney, CPA, or whatever on the show. Then they agree, because this is part of our system. Your name is, ma'am? Becky. Becky, you're not allowed to come on the show unless you agree to share this. Okay? Now, if you don't think the quality is good enough, then we will absolutely address that on the back end. But our ultimate goal is for you to be able to talk about how great you are to the point where you're going to want to share it with your friends and family. Are you okay with that? Yes. They're on the show. We even provide, and so does Hightower can assist with this, social media posts that you hand to the CPA and say, here, just share this. They don't have the same compliance stuff that we have to worry about, by the way. Okay? So we have an advisor in Long Island who has the strongest Long Island accent, who was a recovering CPA, now CFP, RIA. He does 3 CPA mastermind groups in Long Island. he had to hire 3 more advisors because of the business that are coming in from referrals from CPAs. And it all started with having them on the show. You can't get into the mastermind group unless you come on the show. And then you can't stay in the mastermind group if you're not sharing his podcast. Okay? That's unbelievably powerful, right? Honestly, I don't really care if you use us, because if you scan that QR code, you get your thing, and you go into our free version of our academy, just start a show. You've got a great marketing team. You're just like all huddled in the corner over there. What's going on over there? So them over there, they will help you with all of that stuff, all right? Now, before I get to the 5th one, which is what all of you really want to know, we do everything for you, okay? We create the cover art, custom write an intro and outro. We'll help you come up with your podcast topics. We buy you the equipment. We teach you how to use the equipment, okay? And that's just the first 30 days. We've got an entire coaching program, 9 podcast growth tactics. Here's my favorite thing. We grade you on your show. Because most of you want to improve, like in life, but especially behind the microphone. So I created this grading rubric that's got 10 different points that we grade you on a 1 to 5 scale on how you're doing. Things like, are you too salesy? Right? What are your go-to words? Does anybody know what their go-to word is when they're talking? Anybody? Good. What else? So. Like, yeah. All right. We track that. So through our editing program, I can pull every time you say like, and then show you that it's decreasing over time. Yeah. When we first started, I interviewed this lady, and she said, and whatnot, 79 times in the podcast. End of every sentence, and whatnot. She was nervous. I get it. All right. So 5, net new assets. Okay? I understand that you look at marketing, it needs to have an ROI, a return on investment. What I'm talking about in the first 4 is return on influence, being more influential in your clients' lives. But the last one is net new assets. Jimmy Williams tracks $1 million a month in net new assets from his podcast alone. Larry, my guy in Long Island, had to hire 3 advisors. So he's been with us for about 100 episodes now. He's brought in over 30 million. Okay, now that's walking around money. So my question to you is this. How much or how many new clients do you need to bring in every year to pay for a podcast? Here's how I want you to calculate this, though. The marketing team's going to love me for this. The best of the best companies, not just in financial services, spend 7 to 14% gross, not net, on marketing. How many of you are doing that? He's like, dude, what are you kidding me? Yeah, I know, yeah. But if you did, holy crap. So you're $1 million firm, like you make $1 million a year, right? How much money should you be spending on marketing? 100 grand. None of you are doing that. I'm not 100 grand. If you want to write me a check for that, totally fine. Okay? So I've got a couple minutes left. I actually want to bring up something that you talked about yesterday. Which, by the way, those first 3 presentations yesterday, holy crap. Like, oh my God. So this whole idea of surprise and delight, all right? So I talked about the podcast topics 1 through 12. One of the greatest things that you can do is a technique that we call 12 by 20. So you're going to take 12 of your top clients, and you're going to ask them, what is their favoriteest thing in the whole wide world? And some of them are going to say golf, whatever. So we'll just use golf, right? I don't personally understand that, but people love golf. And what was that dude's name? Nick Hardy. See, I don't pay attention. Nick Hardy, great PGA guy. Woohoo! High tower sponsors. So let's say golf. You say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. We have a relationship with what? Who was his name? Nick Hardy. Sorry. Nick Hardy. I can get Nick Hardy on a podcast. What questions would you like me to ask Nick Hardy? Short game, long, I don't know anything about golf. Anyway, so you interview Nick Hardy, and you tell that client, will you share this with 12 of your favorite golf buddies? Of course they're going to say yes. First off, it was their idea. Secondly, it's Nick, whatever his name is. And third, why wouldn't they share it with all of their friends? Because it makes them look good and it's information their friends want. You might be thinking, Matt, that's not about asset allocation. Yeah, that's the freaking point, man. Because here's the deal. Podcasts are supposed to be timeless, not timely. People want to know what's going on in the market. Where are they going to go? Yeah, not your podcast, right? So, okay, I've got 4 minutes left. I wanted to answer any questions. I'm going to be here the rest of the day. Yes, ma'am.
How many podcasts a month, or what is the frequency when you're first getting started?
That's a brilliant question. So the question was, what is the frequency when you're first getting started? The ideal run rate is 2 podcasts a month, okay? And the reason why is because the social media assets that we create off of your podcast give that podcast longer shelf life, roughly 2 weeks. So for every podcast that you do through Proudmouth, we create anywhere from 7 to 10 pieces of custom-written or social media for you that either directs to the podcast or highlights things in the podcast. But I've been finding more and more advisors now are starting with 1 a month, and we are entirely fine with both. Now, on an influence standpoint, it's going to take you longer to ramp up because you have less content. But if you partner that with some of the stuff that Hightower's doing, you should have lots and lots and lots of content. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Where are the podcast platforms too? Where
Great.
can people find your podcast that you help Hightower do?
So that is a serious compliance question. And we have all of this already worked out with Hightower. So we use a platform called Blueberry. And the reason why we use Blueberry is like the 3rd largest podcast syndication. So you can't go right to iTunes. You have to go through a third party. So we use Blueberry. Their dashboard's the best. Their analytics are the best. We just really like them. And then they'll go to every major podcast player. So what is the name of your show again? Yeah. Your Financial Planning? Okay. So if you type that in to Apple, it'll come up. You type that into Amazon, it'll come up. Google, it'll come up. Spotify, iHeart. So we go to every single solitary channel. Now, there's some compliance issues with comments, stars they consider testimonials, which, by the way, the SEC did not say that. And I will go toe-to-toe with any of you compliance people on that, because I actually read the damn thing. But I understand that you want to be a little bit more conservative. But we can turn those things on and off. So if you don't want to be somewhere in Blueberry, we actually have controls to turn those off. Okay? Next question. Yes?
How do you study like the effectiveness of launching one episode when you're first starting, versus launching like multiple, like the binge watching of that? Like, which one's more effective?
So the latter is more effective. Unfortunately, most of our clients are terribly impatient and don't want to do it. We highly recommend that you launch 3 podcasts at the beginning, which is, again, the who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. So, and they binge listen. Your listens go through the roof. You rank higher on iTunes. That is the best way to do it. But unfortunately, advisors are like, I'm $3,000 into this, and what am I doing? I'm not getting a return on my investment. I'm like, you're 2 months in, man. So it also takes a while. So this is another big objection. Okay, Matt, when can I expect my money back? Okay, here's the deal. You're not. Because the first 4 things have nothing really to do with you making your money back on your investment. Trust me, you all spend on stupid stuff the same cost that you would be spending for us, which, by the way, we do have preferred pricing through Hightower. And the range is, it's about $2,000 to get everything set up, because we custom build everything, including the graphic design. It's anywhere from about $975 to about $2,000 a month, depending on what you choose with us, okay? But we say 9 months. You got to do this for 9 months consistently. 1 to 2 episodes. You show up. Guess what? It's a show. You got to be ready. We call it the rock star approach. You show up. It's not going to come off. We hand you the mic. You do your show. You drop the mic. We take care of everything else until you have to deal with your fans. Okay? Because I can't do that from a compliance standpoint. Your name? Trevor. So Trevor has a huge social media following. Somebody says, that was a great podcast. I can't go on your social profile and say, thank you. You can, and you need to. All right? Yes? Yes.
What is the starting point with music, and is like royalty-free music websites, and kind of like, how do you kind of get the legal aspect parameters around incorporating music and sound bites from like somebody else?
Right. So we do all of that for you on the front end. So what we're going to do for your custom music, we actually have an entire website that has thousands and thousands of tracks. We ask you questions through discovery, right, to find out what the feel needs to be. Now, you can't use Big Boy. You can't use anybody who, because here's the deal, Spotify has an algorithm that will listen to your music, and if it is not, or if it is done by an artist, you will not only lose your pot, you will be banned from Spotify. So we take care of all of that. Now, there are some clients who want it custom written, and so like they have a friend. But we actually have to have an agreement signed, which most musicians have, for public use for this specific thing. Yeah. Okay, I'm out of time. So I want to thank you. If you guys have any questions, please give me a holler. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you.